What if I told you that your great-grandmother stayed at a healthy weight her entire life without a single weight loss app, without a gym membership, without a nutritionist, and without ever once stressing about what she ate for breakfast? And the real reason she could do that should make every single one of us stop and think hard about what has actually changed, because I promise you it was not her mindset. In 1960, roughly 13% of American adults were considered obese. Today, depending on which projection you look at, we are approaching nearly half the population. Severe obesity was practically non-existent back then, less than 1%. Today, almost 1 in 10 Americans qualifies. I personally struggled with my own weight for years, and it wasn't until DoctorLeana explained the actual mechanism behind all of this that things finally started making sense. Margaret Calloway lived in the same home outside of rural Ohio from 1951 until she passed away at the age of 82. Her daughter found a handwritten grocery notebook after she died, a record of every major shopping trip going back decades. Eggs, lard, whole milk, butter, potatoes, bacon, a whole chicken, cream, real coffee. Not one entry ever said low fat. Not one entry said protein shake. Not one ever said diet anything. Margaret stayed within 10 pounds of her wedding weight for most of her adult life. Her granddaughter is 34 years old today. She reads nutrition labels religiously. She drinks green smoothies. She pays for a meal plan subscription. She does HIIT workouts 3 times a week and logs every single calorie on her phone. And she is heavier at 34 than her grandmother was at 54. So what actually changed? Because the answer is not willpower. People love to say the women of that era just had more self-control, more discipline, a stronger sense of how to manage themselves. That story is convenient, and it is completely wrong. A woman today has access to more nutritional data in 5 minutes of scrolling than Margaret Calloway encountered in her entire lifetime. She knows what a macronutrient is. She knows what inflammation is. She is doing everything she was told to do. And she is losing a battle her grandmother never even had to fight. Because the battle was engineered. It was built deliberately, profitably, and structurally around her. Let me give you the actual numbers because this matters. In the 1,930 seconds, obesity rates in America were below 1%. By the early 1,960 seconds, they had climbed to around 13%. Today, we are close to 50. That trajectory does not describe a population that slowly lost its discipline. That describes a population whose environment was systematically rebuilt around them. This is documented. This is chemical. This is economic. This is real. Think about what Margaret's kitchen looked like at 10:30 in the morning. Maybe a bowl of fruit on the table. A coffee pot. That's it. She ate 3 meals a day, sometimes a cookie with her afternoon tea if she had company. And in between those 3 meals, something happened that almost nobody experiences anymore. Her body actually finished digesting. Her insulin rose after each meal and then came all the way back down to baseline before she ate again. Her system got to rest. Now picture the modern kitchen at 10:30 in the morning, a protein bar in the car, a caramel oat milk drink from the drive-thru, a handful of trail mix at the desk, a piece of so-called healthy gum, a little bag of organic fruit crisps that says mindful snacking on the label. Even if every single one of those items is marketed as clean or healthy, your body does not care about the marketing. Every time you eat, your insulin rises. If you are eating all day in little bites and sips, your insulin never comes down. Your body is permanently in storage mode, never in the recovery and burning phase in between. The snack industry did not solve hunger. It commodified it. Granola bars as a food category barely existed before the mid-70s. Today, snacking is worth hundreds of billions of dollars annually, an entire industry built on a problem that Margaret never had, because Margaret's breakfast actually kept her full. And here is why that is. A real breakfast in 1952. Eggs cooked in butter, maybe a strip of bacon, a slice of toast, black coffee. That meal triggered real satiety hormones. DoctorLeana talks about this often. Cholecystokinin, peptide YY, leptin. These are the body's own natural hunger suppression signals. They respond to protein and fat. They tell the brain, we are covered, stand down. A meal like that held a person genuinely full for 4 to 5 hours. What replaced it? A bowl of corn-based cereal marketed as Heart Smart, a low-fat blueberry muffin, a smoothie with 4 types of fruit and a scoop of something that says functional on the label. That breakfast spikes blood sugar fast and drops it just as fast. You are starving again by 10:15 in the morning, which is exactly when the snack bar you bought from the same parent company as your cereal is sitting in your bag waiting for you. The hunger was manufactured. The rescue was sold. It is honestly one of the most elegant and ruthless business models ever constructed. But as significant as all of that is, it is not even the deepest wound. I want you to imagine 2 American kitchens. The first one, 1953. There is butter on the counter, a tin of lard by the stove, maybe a small jar of beef tallow, a bottle of olive oil if the family had Southern European roots. Real fats, animal fats, fats that human beings had been eating for thousands of years. Now, the second kitchen, 1958. The butter is gone. In its place is a tub of margarine, a yellow can of vegetable shortening, a big plastic jug of refined corn oil. All of it stamped with health claims. How did that happen? There was a researcher in the 1950 seconds, and his work became one of the most consequential and most flawed scientific pivots in modern history. He proposed that countries eating the most saturated fat had the highest rates of heart disease. He originally studied 22 countries. The data from those 22 countries did not support his hypothesis. So, he published a study using only 7 of them, the ones that appeared to fit his argument. What he quietly left out was that most of those 7 countries were not actually eating natural animal fat in large quantities. They were eating industrially produced trans fats and margarines. But that nuance was ignored. By 1977, the U.S. government issued official dietary guidelines telling Americans to reduce fat consumption. By 1980, every major food company was racing to remove fat from everything and slap a low-fat label on it. And here is what nobody told the public. When you strip naturally occurring fat from a whole food, that food becomes flavorless and texturally inedible. To make it palatable again, manufacturers added sugar, enormous quantities of sugar, and they got endorsements from major health organizations to put on the front of those boxes. Meanwhile, the replacement for butter was a refined industrial oil that didn't exist in any kitchen 50 years earlier. In 1909, the average American consumed less than 10 grams of soybean oil per year. By 1999, that number was over 11 kilograms per person annually, more than 1,000 times the previous amount. The American Journal of Clinical Nutrition described that shift as the single most dramatic change to the United States food supply in the entire 20th century. Today, industrial seed oils are present in roughly 80% of packaged food products, and the ratio of omega-6 to omega-3 fatty acids in the average American diet, which historically sat near 1:1, now sits closer to 20:1. That imbalance is consistently linked in peer-reviewed research to systemic chronic inflammation. And chronic inflammation is the biological terrain in which obesity, type 2 diabetes, cardiovascular disease, and fatty liver disease all take root. We took away real fat. We replaced it with an industrial byproduct pressed in chemical solvents and marketed it as the healthy choice. And the obesity statistics from 1980 to today are the receipt for that decision. Now, here's where I want to make sure you actually hear this part. The body did not change. The environment changed. The body is not broken. It is responding exactly as it was designed to respond, to the inputs it is being given. The metabolism is adaptive. DoctorLeana always emphasizes that the body's innate capacity for self-regulation and healing is genuinely extraordinary once you stop overriding it with the wrong inputs. When you remove the interference, the chronic blood sugar spikes, the never-ending insulin stimulation, the inflammatory fats disguised as health food, the body begins reorienting itself. Sometimes the shift is surprisingly fast. And the place where this becomes most practical in everyday life is in your kitchen fats. Of all the things worth recovering from the pre-processed food era, the one that has the most immediate and measurable impact for most people is switching back to real fat and eliminating industrial seed oils. Real butter, real olive oil, eggs cooked in animal fat, tallow, ghee. These are not nostalgia items. They are biologically appropriate foods that the human body recognizes, processes cleanly, and uses to actually trigger the satiety signals that tell your brain the meal is finished. And among all of them, high-quality olive oil holds a particular distinction because of its polyphenol content, specific compounds found in the highest concentrations in freshly pressed, single-origin, early harvest oil that have been documented to reduce inflammatory markers and support metabolic function. The longest living populations on Earth have been studied extensively, and real cold-pressed olive oil with high polyphenol levels is a consistent thread among them. The catch is that most of what lines supermarket shelves does not qualify. Much of the olive oil sold in American grocery stores has been sitting in supply chains for a year or more. Some is stored in clear plastic bottles under fluorescent lighting, both of which accelerate polyphenol degradation. Some products are blended with the same refined seed oils we just talked about. This is why people try olive oil and say they don't notice a difference. They are not using the real thing. There is a quick test worth doing right now if you have olive oil in your kitchen. Take a small sip directly from the bottle. Real high polyphenol olive oil produces a distinct peppery burn at the back of the throat. That sensation is the oleocanthal, one of the primary anti-inflammatory compounds, making itself known. If your olive oil goes down smooth with no bite, no pepper, no burn, what you have is likely a low polyphenol product that has been sitting too long or was never high quality to begin with. The difference matters because the polyphenols are doing the metabolic work, signaling satiety to the brain, reducing inflammatory load, supporting the hormonal environment that makes it easier for the body to regulate weight naturally. After I understood all of this, I stopped buying olive oil from the grocery store entirely. The olive oil I use personally comes from the Fresh Pressed Olive Oil Club. Small batch, single origin, cold pressed, with a documented harvest date and verified polyphenol levels. If you want to check it out, there's a link below, and they're offering a free third bottle when you purchase two, which is a deal they don't make available broadly. The bottles are dark glass, the harvest dates are current, and once a batch sells out, it's gone until the next harvest. I want to circle back to something because it matters beyond food. Margaret Calloway was not doing workout classes. She was not logging steps. She carried laundry baskets up 2 flights of stairs. She walked to the market. She swept. She gardened. She stood at a stove for an hour making dinner from raw ingredients. Movement was woven into the structure of her day so completely that she never had to think about it. Today, we have removed virtually all incidental movement from daily life. Cars to every destination, elevators, home delivery, desk jobs, automated everything. And then we sell structured exercise back to people at $35 to $50 a class as the solution. It is the same pattern. Remove something the body needs, then commodify its replacement. And the liquid side of things follows the same logic. Margaret drank water, black coffee, sometimes hot tea, maybe a small glass of whole milk with dinner. A 34-year-old woman today often starts her morning with a 400-calorie sweetened coffee drink, has a flavored probiotic drink at lunch, a flavored sparkling water mid-afternoon, and wine with dinner. Liquid calories do not activate the same satiety pathways that solid food does. The body does not register them as a meal, which means many people are effectively consuming an entire extra meal's worth of calories every day in beverage form, and their hunger signals never receive any signal that those calories arrived. The circadian dimension of this also rarely gets discussed. Margaret ate breakfast around 7, lunch around noon, dinner around 6. That predictability was not just habitual, it was metabolically meaningful. The liver, the pancreas, insulin secretion, cortisol rhythms, these systems run on a circadian clock. Eating at irregular intervals throughout the day, 10 or 12 times between waking and sleeping with no rhythm, creates a state that researchers have compared to permanent internal jet lag. Hormonal regulation depends on timing as much as it depends on composition. Modern eating habits have disrupted that timing almost entirely. So, to bring this back to the practical, the body has not failed. The environment failed the body. Margaret Calloway was not leaner because she had superior genetics or superior character. She was leaner because her environment had not yet been industrially restructured around manufactured hunger. Her food looked like food. Her day included real movement. Her meals had a beginning and an end. Her fats were real. Her kitchen did not contain anything that required a chemistry degree to produce. You are not lazy. You are not weak. You are not someone who simply lacks the willpower to do what your grandmother did naturally. You are a person operating inside a system that was built over 70 years to keep you hungry, inflamed, confused, and reaching for the next product. The body's capacity to reorient once the interference is reduced is real and documented. Start with 3 meals a day, no eating in between. Remove the industrial seed oils from your kitchen and replace them with real fats: butter, quality olive oil, eggs, animal fats. Cook from actual ingredients as often as you can. Take a 10-minute walk after dinner. Read the ingredient list on anything packaged, and if it sounds like a chemistry list, put it back. None of this requires a prescription. None of it requires a tracker or an app or a subscription. It requires understanding what was taken from an entire generation and making a deliberate choice to take it back. If something in this clicked for you, if you finally feel like the confusion around why eating well is so hard actually makes sense now, share this with someone who has spent years blaming themselves for something that was done to all of us at a population level. Because the first step toward fixing it is just understanding it clearly. And if you want to go deeper on what real olive oil specifically does inside the body over time, I ran a 30-day experiment tracking exactly what changed: energy, satiety, inflammation markers, the works. And I documented the whole thing. That video is coming up next. I think it's going to surprise you.